Now we are moving on to the tone transitions. We will stretch from a dark tone to a lighter one. I will take a new blank sheet for this. We will depict transitions in the form of some ribbons. We draw an elongated rectangle and divide it into 5 or 6 identical compartments. I got 7. We will have a shadow on the left and light on the right. Usually, of course, we do not divide the drawing in this way, but here this division will help us to make each compartment a separate tone or color. If you want, you can even sign. We have a shadow, a semitone, and then a light. We will consider a semitone when we draw a sphere. Now we are not complicated anything yet and just learning to make a smooth transitions from shadow to light. Visually, it will look like this. The gray shade will gradually lighten and disappear in the light of the sheet. Each cell will have its own tone. This is important. Now let's do it together with a stroke. I will take the HB pencil. I remind you that the pencil must be well sharpened. I choose for myself here the diagonal direction of the stroke. I advise you to avoid strict vertical and horizontal lines. This is usually not very convenient. I stroke as I feel comfortable in the scope that I'm used to and start filling out with this form from left to right. I stroke everything together and not each cell individually, since this is the first layer. It should be noted right away that I don't stroke the last and penultimate since it's pure light. Therefore, we fill everything with the first layer, except the last two. We remember all the rules for applying a stroke. We try to work carefully and beautifully. This is just a workout. I do not require you to be perfect. We are learning, so mistakes are more than acceptable. You need to feel the stroke, and this exercise is a way to train it. After applying the first layer, we focus on the first two compartments. They will be the darkest. So now I'm trying to darken them by slightly changing the direction of the stroke. I advise you to move from the left to right, and not vice versa. The stroke direction of the layer should be the same throughout the entire application length. Try to keep track of how many layers you apply. It's important for you to control this so that you do not go through the same place many times. We apply a stroke from left to right, layer by layer. Now I am taking a pencil 2B and starting working on the shadow, already in a slightly different direction. I remind you that it should not be duplicated. And then I focus on the very first cell, making it maximally dark. Then, to make a smoother transition, I start shading the second cell, connecting it to the first. Then I move on to the third. Now we can observe a more correct transition. After that, we touch the lighter cells a little, working with harder pencils like HB. Then, to make a smoother transition, I start shading the second cell, connecting it to the first. And when we have roughly sketched all the shades, we can move on to a more detailed drawing. I return to the shadow again and perfect the transitions. I am doing something like tone balancing. Again, in order to make a smooth transition between each compartment, it's important to start hatching from the end of this other stroke, trying not to enter the zone of the previous one. In order to understand better, if you have a transition, you can squint your eyes a little. This way, you will see everything more solidly, in the form of a spot, rather than a set of individual lines. Squinting, I see a sharper transition here and there is also a monotony of tone in semitones. So now I am going to take care of this place. I will darken the second one again and work out the transitions to the third and fourth. Now analyze your result. Ask yourself the questions. Is your stroke neat everywhere? Is there no grid effect? Is there a smooth and natural transition? Make sure that each cell has its own tone and at the same time smoothly connects with the others. If everything is correct, I congratulate you. If not, do not despair and just do this exercise again, taking into account all the mistakes. To correct some minor mistakes, you can use your kneaded eraser. Take a small piece and lighten the area that came out sloppily. For comparison, you can do it with a simple eraser, but as you can see, it will leave a very sharp mark, so I advise you not to use it. With an eraser, you can create soft, lightened areas. With a kneaded eraser, you can create soft, lightened areas without any effort and very naturally. You can reshade the erased place and tabby align the tone. And now let's try to do the same with the shading. We will take a softer pencil. I will take 4B. And we also make the transition starting with dark tones and gradually moving to light ones. We do it smoothly. Then you can blend with your finger. Now we will also consider what effect can be if we take a cardboard shading. I will apply two identical spots. I shade one with my finger and the other with a cardboard stick. You may notice that the second option looks more solid and neat. I remind you that the line should not be visible in the shading. This is mandatory only when you stroke. Now we have sorted out the main approaches and applications and can proceed to the study of the volume.